Hey lieve luisteraar, voor je gaat luisteren naar dit nieuwe gesprek in de reeks WDYP-podcast, wil ik jou graag nog iets vragen. Ik wil jou een gunst vragen, want ik wil jou graag beter leren kennen. En daarom heb ik een vragenlijst gemaakt. De link staat in de show notes. Neem er even een paar minuutjes tijd voor en laat mij weten wie dat jij bent, waarom je naar deze podcast luistert en hoe dat ik deze podcast nog beter voor jou kan maken. Alvast een hele dikke dankjewel. Ga dan nu gezellig luisteren naar een hopelijk voor jou interessant en inspirerend gesprek. Why do you podcast? That's one of the questions I ask all my guests in this podcast series. In over 100 episodes, I've gotten more than 100 different answers, and I'm still curious for more. I'm Annelies, a strategic podcast manager in Belgium, and I confess, a podcast junkie. Please join me in listening to this new episode and discovering yet another podcast why. Along the way, you will also get lots of tips and inspiration to apply to your own podcast or to get you started. Enjoy! All right, let's do this. Episode 150. I cannot believe I made it this far. This has been an amazing journey that has been going on for 2 years now. And I must say I'm a bit proud of myself for keeping this up. Started as a daily podcast, daily, Monday to Friday. And now it's a weekly show, but I'm still having so much fun doing this. And for this special anniversary episode, let's call it, I thought I would share the origin story of Why Do You Podcast. And now, if you're listening in Belgium or the Netherlands and you're wondering, why is this Belgian woman doing a solo episode in English? Let me explain. I was looking at my download numbers and, I must say in 2 years' time and 150 episodes, I expected them to be higher. What I do see is a very high number of unique listeners, almost 1,000. So almost 1,000 people have heard at least one episode of this series. But that, if you count the total downloads, which is almost at 10,000, that means that a lot of episodes have only been downloaded like 10 times. Some even less, and some have been downloaded 100 times or more. So the explanation that I see there is, of course, I have a different guest in every episode, and my guests are so broad. It can be any topic. As long as you have a podcast, you're welcome to be my guest. So a lot of people maybe only listen once because they want to listen to the story of that particular guest. And then I totally understand that you would not be interested in listening to any of the other episodes. I do that too. Some podcasts I only listen once because of the guest that I'm interested in to know more about. So I think that's a very reasonable explanation. I cannot think of really another explanation, unless that this show is so bad that people only listen once. But let's not go there. So let's go for my reason that I think is behind it. But so why am I doing this episode in English? In 150 episodes, I have done 12 interviews in English with guests from all over the world, but English speaking. And I was looking at my download numbers and I saw that almost 50% of my downloads are outside of Belgium and the Netherlands. So while this is a mainly Belgian Flemish podcast and with a lot of guests from the Netherlands, but these 12 guests that I've had doing interviews in English, they are a big part of my downloads, which is normal, I think, also because this podcast is very niche topic. Also, the topics go very broad in what the podcasts can be about. Can be about anything. All you need is a podcast, and you can be my guest. So, if you're listening now and you have a podcast, the link to schedule a recording is in the show notes. So, please do. You're very, very welcome. But these 12 guests that I've had are responsible for almost half of my downloads. I can think of two reasons there. Of course, there's a lot more people in the world speaking English than Dutch or Flemish. And also, I must say, two or three of those guests that I've had are in the podcast world. Also, maybe a bit the more famous. I was very proud to have them on the show. Was Jeremy Enns, founder of the Podcast Marketing Academy, and Colin Gray, the founder of Alitu. And Alitu is the software that I use to record, to edit, not to publish. You can do that in Alitu, but I'm on Podhome. That's a Dutch hosting service. And Barry, actually, the founder of Podhome, has also been a guest, but that episode was in Dutch. But yeah, those episodes with Colin and Jeremy are responsible for a lot of my download numbers. So thank you, Colin and Jeremy, if you're listening. I was especially proud to have them on the show because, yeah, I'm a member of the Podcast Marketing Academy. A lot of what I know and what I teach my clients, I have learned from Jeremy. So kudos to you, Jeremy. And of course, Alitu. Without Alitu, I would not be who I am today, because without that tool, I would have given up on podcast editing and everything that connected to it ages ago. I probably wouldn't even have started doing my own podcast and becoming a podcast manager. And actually, I was a podcast manager first, and then afterwards, I started doing my own podcast. But without Alitu, I could never have done it because this tool makes it so easy. I mean, I open GarageBand or Audacity and my brain just explodes because there's too much there. And more than half of it you don't need. So Alitu was made for podcasters by podcasters. It's very simple and easy. And it works. I've never had any problems. So yeah, I'm in love with Alitu. Love Colin Gray for creating this software, and I'm also very proud to be a partner of them. So I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to give it a try. That's also a way for me to earn some extra affiliate income through there. So thank you if you want to give it a try, but let's not make this a commercial talk. So on with the story of how I started with Why Do You Podcasts. I've already recorded a solo episode in this series in Dutch about why I podcast. But yeah, because I have a significant number of listeners outside of Belgium and the Netherlands, I thought, why not do one in English for episode 150? For the Dutch-speaking people listening now, the episode where I do this in Dutch was episode 45. So a lot has changed since then, because that episode went online on the 1st of September 2023. That's almost 2 years ago now. So I might have changed a little bit in the course of all these episodes and all these conversations and life, basically. So you might hear some different things in this one because, yeah, I've grown, I've evolved. Would be something wrong with me if I hadn't. So, so don't think I'm lying there or anything. I'm not. Just things change. So yeah, that was episode 45. And why was it episode 45? Because that seems like a weird number to do a special solo episode. Why didn't I do it for episode 50, for example, like I'm doing now for 150? Well, there's a reason for that. The challenge started for myself. I gave myself a challenge in beginning of 2023. I had already another podcast that was called Podcast Wonderland. It's in Dutch. It's about how to start a podcast, how to grow a podcast, all the marketing strategies for podcasters to grow their show. I already had that, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to just talk to as many podcasters as I could to find out why they podcast, because I know why I do it. I know why my clients do it, because as a podcast manager, I focus a lot on the strategy part of things, and starting with a plan, having clear goals, and defining actions to get to those goals. That's always been important for me as a podcast manager, not only writing show notes, the editing. I love all that, but you're not going anywhere if you don't have a plan. Yeah. So that's what I've always focused on now, even more, because I don't do a lot of podcast manager stuff anymore, only for a limited number of clients. And I'm focusing on strategic sessions now, where you can book me for an hour or a day to really dive in your podcast strategy and find the opportunities and find clarity in also where you want to go with the podcast and what you want to achieve with it. So I know why I do it. I know why my clients do it. But I wanted to know, why do other people podcast? Because we all know it's a lot of fun, but it's also damn hard work. So why do we keep doing it? What do we get out of it? And how do we do it? In this Why Do You Podcast series, I don't focus much on the tools that we use or stuff like that. But I do focus on, the strategy behind it. Why do you do it? What do you get out of it? That's the main focus of the conversation I have. I was curious, why do other people do this? Business owners, non-business owners. I've had some people on the show that are just doing a podcast as a hobby. That's also completely fine. I just want to know, why do you do it? So I thought, okay, let's open up my calendar. I posted on Instagram. I posted in Facebook groups, on LinkedIn, everywhere I could. I asked people, here's the link, schedule a recording with me. And my goal was to have an episode every day in July and August of that year, 2023. Not on the weekends, but Monday to Friday, every day, one episode. So people started scheduling podcast recordings, and I was like, okay, this is going well. This is going smoothly. Appointments were coming in. My calendar was filling up. So I started the first recording I did in the beginning of May, on the 3rd of May, and it went live on the 3rd of July. And then in that period of May, June, I had recordings like sometimes 2 or 3 a day, 4, 5, 6 a week. It was a bit overwhelming, actually. But I wanted to get all the recordings done for July and August, because I was going to be spending the summer in Portugal. My partner is Portuguese, and we were taking some time off to spend the summer there. So I wanted to have everything ready before I left, so I wouldn't have to do anything while I was there. At least not. I did do stuff, but not work and not podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts though, because I'm a junkie. I must admit, I listen to way too many podcasts. But yeah, hey, we've all got our faults. Yeah. So May, June, I was recording, editing, and then planning everything to go live every day, Monday, Friday, July and August. And that meant on the 1st of September, episode 45 was meant to be the last one of the series. And that was my solo, my story, my solo episode. But yeah, candidates kept popping up and coming and scheduling recordings. So I thought, yeah, okay, This I'm enjoying myself doing this, so why not continue? And that's what I did. It did become from then on a weekly podcast. I have taken some breaks also in the course of these 2 years because of vacation, or just because, yeah, in the beginning it went very smoothly to get my bookings and to get a constant inflow of guests. But I also, there were times that it didn't go so well, and that things slowed down, and then I didn't have, like in January this year, I did not have any recordings. It was very hard to get guests to say yes or to make the time. So then I thought, okay, I have all these episodes now. Why not do a rewind series? And then in January, I had 4 rewind episodes that I pulled from my back catalog. I chose maybe not the best ones, maybe not the most downloaded ones, but I chose my personal favorites. And I'm sorry for the English speaking listeners, but they are all in Dutch. Also because I chose deliberately from the first 100 episodes, and I only started doing English episodes from episode, I think the first one was episode around 98 or something. So no English episodes made the cut, but who knows, maybe next year when I do more rewind sessions, because it's also fun. I recorded a new intro explaining why I chose that particular episode to go back to and to re-release. So yeah, I had a lot of positive feedback on that as well. But yeah, that's how I still wanted to keep up my weekly episodes because I think taking a break because of vacation is okay. And I could have taken a break because there was just no new episodes. That would also have been totally fine. But I thought, yeah, I don't want to start the year. I've already taken a Christmas break. I don't want to wait until February to start again after the Christmas break. So in January, I had 4 weeks with these my favorite episodes that came back, and then yeah, I've kept going, which has brought me here to episode 150, and the reason why I'm doing this now has changed a little bit, I must say, because I started purely from curiosity. Why do people podcast, and what do they get out of it? But it has become a networking tool for me. This podcast, because yeah, I'm a podcast coach, a strategic podcast marketing coach. So this podcast enables me to get in touch with podcasters who are potentially clients for me. So yeah. So basically, this is my way of networking, and I'm not very active on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn in waves, but I do go networking offline a lot to events in my area where I live, and also sometimes in the across the border in the Netherlands, and that's a lot of fun. But what I do notice at those networking events, chances are low that you're going to meet another podcaster, especially in Belgium, because, it's growing, but not that many entrepreneurs already have a podcast. A lot of them are thinking to start one, but don't do it for any number of reasons. And that's also what I want to do with this Why Do You podcast? I want to network. For me, it's a way to get to know podcasters, and for them to get to know me, because I must say, I know in the US and in the UK, there's a lot of podcast managers. In Belgium, I think I can count them on my 2 hands. Well, and when I started, I could count them on one hand, but now we've doubled. But yeah, that means there's still only like 10 of us that I know of, at least. So yeah, I still have to explain a lot what I do, and people are still surprised. Oh, podcast manager, that's actually a job that exists. Someone can do this for me. I mean, I don't have to do all the editing and all that stuff myself. I can just hand that work over, outsource this to someone else who does it for me. People are still surprised to find out about this. So I don't know if you're listening in the US, if you could imagine that, because there's loads of podcast managers over there. At least that's the impression I have. So yeah, why do I podcast? Networking, but also inspiring all these entrepreneurs or other people that are maybe thinking of doing a podcast, but not doing it because something is holding them back, whatever it may be. I want to inspire them. I want to share all these stories of other podcasters because, okay, we can complain a bit that it's hard work, but we do love it and we enjoy it. And that's something I get every time in all of these 150 episodes. We all love what we do and we are passionate about this podcasting thing. So that's why I do it. For me, it's a networking tool, a way for me to get to know podcasters, for them to get to know me. And who knows, maybe one day there will be collaborations coming out of that. If it's clients or me being a guest on their podcast, that has happened quite a lot, actually, more than I expected. That was a nice surprise because I also get asked back on their podcast if there's alignment in what they talk about, if I have something to actually useful to contribute. But of course, you have to be strategic about that. Don't just have anyone as a guest. That's what I always say. But actually, in this case, I do have just anyone as a guest. All you have to do is have a podcast. So what are you waiting for? So I thought for the rest of this episode, I would maybe answer the questions that I always ask my guests. We've just covered the why do I podcast? Why do I do this? Yeah, basically because I love it. I don't enjoy the solo episodes that much. So I'm struggling a bit with my other podcast right now. I mentioned the podcast Wonderland podcast in the beginning of this episode. I stopped that after 20 episodes because also I was not enjoying the solo episodes that much, but I think if you want to share your own expertise, that you should do solo episodes and not always have guests because basically you're giving the stage away to someone else. And it's your stage, it's your podcast, especially if your reason for podcasting is sharing your expertise uh, uh, and yeah, selling your own services. Because yeah, let's be honest, that's all what we're all trying to do with if we're business owners with a podcast. So I quit that after 20 episodes, also because I was struggling with the solo episodes, but also because I wanted to rebrand the podcast. Now, Podcast Wonderland, those 20 episodes are still online. I just started again from scratch with a new podcast called Podcast Growth. And I think, yeah, why it does not need much explaining. I mean, who searches Podcast Wonderland if you want to grow your podcast show? So I changed the title to Podcast Groei in Dutch. In English, that translates to Podcast Growth. So I rebranded that, I think, a year and a half ago. And I have about 80 episodes there now, but again, starting to struggle with the solo episode thing. So I must admit, I haven't made a new episode since March, almost 2 months now. I'm keeping my options open. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to pick it up again or quit again or what to do with that. Okay, so I've covered the why do I podcast? Now, what has this podcast taught me or given me? I'm so grateful for every single person that has listened, and I know from my numbers that I have a lot of unique listeners. The number always surprises me because it's almost at 1,000 unique listeners. But in 150 episodes, of course, that means that some episodes have been the average download for each episode is really low, actually. And maybe I would have expected after 2 years and 150 episodes that would be higher, but still 1,000 people have listened to at least one episode, which to me, as a small business owner in a very, very niche business, as a podcast manager and coach in Belgium, to me that's just amazing. That's awesome, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I mean, 1,000 people in the whole world have listened to my podcast, and I'm this podcast lady from Belgium. So, yeah, thank you for everyone that has ever listened, even only one episode. Of course, I would love you to listen to more episodes because all the other podcast conversations are also very inspiring, of course. But yeah, I've gotten to know so many really cool and amazing podcasters in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and around the world. Because there's 12 in English now, but I want to do more. For the Dutch-speaking listeners, don't worry, this will remain a mainly Dutch-spoken podcast. But I do love the mix of guests and to hear different approaches to podcasting from around the world. So let's also keep those coming. So yeah, I'm very grateful for all the people I've gotten to know through this podcast that have come on my path. Some of them have become clients. Some of them have even become friends. So that's truly amazing. And then yeah, but I also ask all my guests if they've had any bloopers or blunders in their history of podcasting, and most common answers I get there is I forgot to press record, or I cannot think of any others right now, because I think that's actually the most common one. There have been different stories. Just go listen to the previous episodes, and you will hear a lot of different and sometimes funny story. One time the blooper actually happened during the recording, because just as I was asking this question, my guest poured her glass of water over her laptop. So luckily everything still worked after that. But yeah, that was a bit of a of a moment. The blooper happening live in the episode. But yeah, of course, things have happened to me also. I've forgotten to press record more than once, actually, and I've, touch wood, never accidentally deleted a recording, never forgot any recording material, because usually I record online in Alitu, but sometimes I do have guests over at my house, or I go to their house or office to record, and then yeah, always triple check if I have everything with me. But yeah, I think nothing ever really bad happened to me. Maybe yeah, something that did not go as planned was this episode, actually, because me doing this solo episode in English is my plan B. Because my plan A was inviting the very first guest in Why Do You Podcast again, because well, he's someone I also work with sometimes for a client's podcast, because he owns a podcast studio and my client records there, and then I do the editing and the show notes and the publishing and stuff. And he has a new podcast also since we last recorded that first episode. So I wanted to invite him again for episode 150. And we had the recording planned 2 weeks ago, but something came up and we had to reschedule. So here I am talking to you by myself. But that episode with the guest number 1, it's still coming. It will be in Dutch. So yeah, but it is still coming. There's a bit of a delay on that. So yeah, this is my plan B. But otherwise, I don't remember any big bloopers or any big mistakes. Let's hope it stays that way. Although it is always a good opportunity to learn, of course. That's also what all my guests have told me. You make this mistake, you do this blunder or blooper, but you always learn from it and you make sure it never happens again. So also embrace them. If it happens, it happens. And there's always a solution. Always. And then, maybe to finish off, another question that I always ask every guest is, what do you think is the most important ingredient for a good, successful podcast? And I must say, in 150 episodes, I have had 150 different answers. Of course, a lot of people say authenticity or the audio or the content. Those are the three most common answers, but then still everyone gives another explanation to the word and or another reason for finding the audio the most important thing. And you know what? For me, it's in the blend of all three of them, because they're all equally important, I think. I think maybe authenticity is maybe the easiest to achieve, because you cannot fake who you are in a podcast. I mean, I do mostly audio only podcasts. When I'm a guest on someone else's podcast and they do video, then I'm totally fine with that. But for my own podcast, I do audio only. But still, so you cannot see my face, but I think you can hear in my voice what I'm feeling. And if I'm trying to be all enthusiastic about, episode 150, yay, but I'm sitting here almost crying and depressed, you will hear that in my voice. So, and I cannot hide that. I mean, I would have to be a really good actor, which I'm not, to fake something that is not there. I know you cannot see my face right now, but I am smiling, and I'm pretty sure that you can hear that in my voice. And it's not a forced smile. I'm just naturally smiling because I'm recording a podcast. And okay, I'm not very happy with doing the solo episode. I would rather have had someone interviewing me, maybe, so I could have a conversation with, instead of asking myself these questions. But yeah. Anyway, so for me, it's in the mix, and I think authenticity is the easiest to achieve because you cannot fake it. You cannot be someone you are not in your podcast, because people will know your podcast will just die and no one will listen to you anymore when you're not authentic. So of course it is important, but authenticity, if you fake that, if you fake who you are, if you play the part of the podcast host, that's not going to work. Not going to work. I don't believe it. But then also, audio, of course, is very important. And I do believe that people will forgive you for having maybe a bad audio or less good audio if your content is spot on and amazing and inspiring and motivational and whatever. But to me, audio is really important, and it doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but do have, I mean, don't hurt my ears. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the most important thing. Yeah. Have a little respect for your listener and his or her ears. That will get you a long way, I think. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure when you're recording that you're in the right space with good acoustics. And then you will also save yourself a lot of editing work after recording. And then, of course, the content, what you talk about in your podcast is important. If you have nothing to say, don't record. Easy. If you're talking about things that your audience cannot relate to, or it's not what you promised or what they expect from you, also, it's not gonna last. So, all three to me, it's in the blend. There should be a blend of all three. They're all equally important to me. Yeah, and the other thing outside of these three that I think is very, very, very important also is, at least for a podcast like this, where you always have guests, is the connection and the relationship you build with your guests. Because, of course, I've made it easy for myself, and doing a weekly podcast that started out as a daily podcast. It was important to me to have a lot of things in the scheduling process automated. But I am also very approachable. If you have extra questions, or if I can help you with anything, or if you say, I want to add the episode where I was a guest in my own podcast feed, can you send me the MP3? I will do all that, and I will make a nice edit for you without my own intro and outro, so you can add yours. That's also that extra service that I can offer, because a large part of the process is automated. That's also really important to me, to have that connection and with my guest, and to stay in touch with my guests. Also, that although that is sometimes a bit of a challenge because we're all busy and we're all scattered around all over the world, but yeah, that is also very important to me. So I've been talking way too long, I think. I'm gonna start doing the editing on this podcast, and I hope that you are enjoying this series. I hope to be able to continue this for a long time to come, to get to at least double the amount of episodes I have right now, or maybe one day even get to 1,000 episodes. Who knows? But as long as I enjoy doing this, I will keep doing it. And I hope to have more, of course, to have the inflow coming of more inspiring podcasters and guests. So if you want to be a guest, the link to schedule a recording is in the show notes. If you want to try out Aitu, also link in the show notes. And if you don't have a podcast yourself, but if you have a suggestion for someone I really should speak to, just send me a message. All the details are in the show notes. And then one more request is to maybe to get you, in case you've only listened to one episode here or there, to get you to listen to more episodes. Please follow my podcast, Why Do You Podcast, in whichever app you are listening. Just give me a follow, give me a 5-star review if you want, but give me a follow so you will never miss a new episode again. And you can easily recognize the English spoken episodes by the little flag in the episode title. The flag always refers to the country of origin of my guest. So if there's no flag, it means it's someone from Belgium or the Netherlands, and it's in Dutch. And if there's a flag, it will be in English. And thank you so much for listening. If you have listened to one episode or all of them, doesn't matter. Thank you. I'm really, really grateful to have your ears, to be in your ears. So I hope I can keep doing that for a very, very long time to come. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy that you chose to spend your time listening to me and my guest. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you don't want to miss any episodes, just click follow. You will recognize the English spoken episodes by the little country flag in the episode title, which tells you where my guest is from. If you would like to do my guest and me a huge favor, then please give both of our podcasts a 5-star review. And we also love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to send us a message. You can find all our contact details in the episode description. Till next time!